Yeah. Oh, yeah. What's going on, everybody? Angel's already in here from the Sportsman Show. He's hanging out in Puyallup with his birds, doing some hawking, as it were. What's going on, guys? It's Mikey Wine here, aka Gundamonium Works, and we're live. So we're starting something new here. Last week, I was just snapping a kit just kind of as some filler to get to this commission project because, I couldn't do, I didn't have it primed yet, and it wasn't, there's really nothing I could do on camera. So I was building the Dugram from, I guess it's Good Smile from. I'm looking past the camera here because I got the box on the wall here. It's the 172 scale combat armor from Max Factory, and it's a piece of junk. But hey, what's up, Nick? Like I said, Angel's coming here. He's already in. I already had the first comment 30 minutes before the show started. But anyway, so in the meantime, I was able to prime and put the base color down for this 42 millimeter Warhammer. It's kind of Warhammer meets Dead Space, like the video game Dead Space. So the armor is very reminiscent of the Dead Space armor, and I'm going to show some pictures. It's actually nearly identical, just expanded to look like more like a Warhammer, like a Space Marine kind of armor. I guess. What's up, Giovanni? How you doing? So so I started doing that. I started putting some a little bit of some dry brushing. That's what we're going to be doing tonight. I'm going to be painting. I was all hand painting tonight. So let me just get organized here, and I'll bring it down to like so. I got this little 42 millimeter Warhammer figure, straight out of Dead Space, and the armor is really, really nice. In fact, I'm going to show some pictures, and like I said, it's all they did was just basically make the pieces a little bit larger, like the shoulder pauldrons, everything's a little bit bigger to look like Warhammer, but it's taken straight from the original Dead Space game. So I'm going to be highlighting those areas, like the helmet has some, blue glow through that. I'm going to try to duplicate that. Also on the back here, and let me just zoom in here and make it easier for everybody to see. So, the base color's down. I did some shading. You can see some darker shading and a little bit of highlights on the. Come on, focus, damn you! Focus. There we go. So there's some dry brushing, mostly on the legs is where I started. I started working my way up. So I've done some shading on some of the other larger panels. The back here, the spine is pretty much the exact same spine that you see in the video game, which will be, that was the health meter, was basically that it was, each segment was a blue, kind of like a glowing segment that was indicated their health meter. And then up in the corner here, you see this little round dial. That was the stasis meter. So if you're familiar with the game, stasis, you could slow things down and help you give yourself an advantage in the middle of all the combat you're doing. So he's holding the slicer. He's also got a little looks like a chainsaw type weapon in his left hand. That'll be painted different colors. So most of the armor is going to be very reminiscent of the game. And let me bring up some images and I'll show you what I'm talking about. So let's see here. All right, so just bring this up. All right, so there you can see the face, and there's that down by his chest there. There's another little meter. That was like your heads-up display and everything in the game. So, but if you look at the armor, the shoulder armor in particular, it's exactly the same as this. They're just bigger pieces. So if I turn it there, see that, and then right there. So it's identical. Even the mask, like the helmet, you look at the segments of the helmet, it has the little dividing brackets on it, and then You look at the actual helmet there. You can see that. I'm trying to get rid of the glare a little bit. So the other images of the back, and so you can see that was the health bar. It's basically the spine of the armor that you're wearing, and he's actually holding the slicer there. Scholar Theron, how you doing, bud? Good to have you. Thank you for joining. So he's holding the slicer there, and you can actually see the beams coming off of it. So everything will be painted very, very similar to that. I have one other image here, which is a little bit better image of, a little bit better image of the stasis meter there. You see that kind of that arc off to the right of the spine, which is pretty much, like I said, the health of the character in the game. So all those things, I'm actually waiting for some paint to show up, and it should be here next week, early next week. So as far as like the blue, those blue areas, and I'm going to try to recreate that glowing effect. So I'm going to have to initially paint those recessed areas with the blue, like a light blue color, and then I'm going to do some really fine airbrushing to try to using some white effects to kind of make it look like it's glowing. I might actually use the same paint and thin it down really, really, really thin and be really, really low pressure, and just, spray those areas to make it look like it's glowing through those cracks. And you'll see, I'll just use my brush. So basically I'm going to be going down the spine, and then it will be on the front of the face here, just under his face is where that head-up display would be. So this will also be blue, this little arc around right under the chin, and then of course 3 of those segments in the helmet, the front of the face mask will be there. What type of paint am I using? Well, thanks for asking. So the base color of this was this brazen brass from Citadel, and this must be a very old bottle of paint, because most of the Warhammer community was like, where did you get that and how old is it? And they don't even make it that way anymore. In fact, this says flammable on it, but it is dilutable with water. And so I diluted it down, and I actually ran it through my airbrush, and that's where I got that base color down. The highlights, okay, or the dry brushing, you'll see the highlight, the shadows are being done with warp block bronze. Okay, so I'm using this, which is a little bit brighter. It's not as bright a brass. He wanted to go for more of a burnt type bronze look, so we decided on this color as the base, and then we'll highlight or do shadows with the warp block bronze, and then I'm doing the highlights with this canoptic alloy, which is kind of like has a little bit of a gold tinge to it. It's silver, but it has a little bit of a yellowish tinge to it. And then I've got some earth shade here, which is a very thin shading color that I will use as needed. And then depending on how I do the base, the actual base that he's standing on, I've got some dust here that I might dust his feet with a little bit, depending on what he's standing on. I haven't decided what I'm going to do, whether it's going to be sand or something else. It's kind of a textured base, so it looks more like dirt and sand anyway, so that's why I brought that out. So once I paint that, I might put a little tuft. I've got these little let me show you here. Just got this little packages of little grass tufts, so I might put 1 or 2 of those kind of under his feet or somewhere around the base, and the rest will be dirt. And then of course his feet will be a little bit dusty. So that's what this it's called Zandri dust. I don't know why such difficult names, I guess, for all these colors, but I have quite a few more colors here that I may dip into. This is a flesh shade, which I don't need, but for flesh tones, but it's a nice shading liquid to get into some of those recessed areas and give some tonal differences, some shading, some variances like that too. What's up, Julius? Hey, Mac, hey, Giovanni, Scholar. Hey, everybody's in. Everybody's saying hi to everybody. How's it going on this hump day? So, moving on, there are some actual nicks and scratches that were molded into, well, not to say molded, but they were printed into the this 3D print. It's a really well done 3D print. As far as 3D prints go, I'm not overly familiar with them, but as far as the amount of detail, the level of detail was really, it looks really, really good. It was a high resolution print for sure. So what I'll do is I'll show you the legs here if you get it to focus in. So you see there, there's some shading done to some of those panels, give a little bit of panel separation, and then there's some dry brushing on the edges to kind of get that worn look. And then you see those little nicks and scratches on the shin there. There's some of those, there are little nicks in the armor. Those will be highlighted too with some silver or something, to look like bare metal, basically, from taking damage. And then I haven't decided yet how I'm going to do this little chainsaw, but we'll figure all that out. There is also a hose. There's a couple little things that that don't that aren't on the armor from the game. So I'll just use some improvisation there to paint those like these. There's two tubes that come across the chest. You can see from the back, those thin tubes. Not sure what color we'll paint those. Maybe something bright or black for that matter. I don't know. But primarily, I'm going to stick with a lot of metallic tones. You wanted that dark bronze look, so that's kind of where my influence has to go. This is a commission, so I'm doing this for someone. I want to try to make sure that their needs and wants are all all included, and then of course I got a little bit liberty to do things as I think look nice. So, and on the backpack here, there's actually two little almost look like power cells on the bottom. I may do some blue highlights in those little details too, make them look like they're glowing or something like that. Because again, this is all it's the game meets Warhammer, so it's a blend of the two. So there's some improvisation done as far as how the armor is made, how the armor is on the figure. I was talking to a couple of guys that I know that are pretty heavy into the Warhammer type stuff, and they were all discussing. They were actually having a friendly argument about the type of armor and how it would be used, if it can be used in a game. You'd have to get whether or not you need permission to put it on the table, kind of thing. That's beyond me. I don't really care about that. I'm just going to make it look good and make it well worth the money spent, I think. So, all right. Did I miss anybody? No, it doesn't look. Scholar, have I met you before? I don't know. I'm sorry if I forgot. I haven't seen you in a while, if it has been. But certainly welcome in. Ask any questions you want, and I'll do my best to answer them, if you have any, of course. So I think what I'm going to start doing first tonight is I'm going to go back to this Warplock Bronze. I'm going to start adding that color to some of these deeper areas. Now, all these paints are water soluble except for my panel liner. This is I was using that just for straight up panel lining, just to put some color into those definite areas that I didn't want to blend as much. I just wanted to make sure they highlight those, especially the panel separation and stuff like that, because there's not a lot of color separation. So I'm trying to separate panels by darks and lights and things like that. So you're good. Oh, Steven. You always say, how many different names do you have, Steven? I swear. I work with Steven, okay? So Scholar's a guy I work with. I didn't know that was his handle on YouTube. But anyway, so where's your brother at? Is he watching? He's the one paying for this, so I imagine he'd be watching too. So anyway, I will probably go do some dry brushing, do some highlights as well. And you know what? I'm going to start there because I've still got to do more of that. So we're going to take this Canoptic alloy. And I've watered these down quite a bit, just so they're very easy. And I'm just using, I don't really need a wet palette. I'm just using this. These are actually, these blue towels came out of headlight restoration kits back in the day. We used to do headlight restorations, and so we would use these to apply some of that final clear coat, and you never end up using them all. So I kept a bunch of them. I just collected them over the years and brought them with me. So they work well for decals and things like this, where I'm just need something for something small. I don't need a big, towel or something like that. They work well. They absorb well, and they're also a lint-free type thing. So it makes it nice when I need to. When I need to kind of just need something quick to put down on the table, rather than having like a paper towel or something. But it's a nice soft cloth, so it works well. It doesn't, I can wipe stuff off and don't worry about scratching paint or anything like that. So I'm just hitting these edges a little bit with this alloy color, and that's just kind of lightening up. There's also a lot of little tiny rivets. So by hitting those with this, it kind of highlights those, makes them shine a little bit more than the background. I may have to move my camera down here. It looks like we're a little bit high. So let me go, actually, let's see, right about there. No, not too much. Oh, shit. Come on. Trying to just get it to move a little bit. There we go. Trying to get it center frame so everybody can see. Let's see, Mike, I was looking through your past videos and came across the Core Fighter build. Did you ever finish that? No, that just snapped. That was, I don't know what plans I had for that. I can't remember. I'd probably have to go back and think about it, but it's just sitting in the box. I did finish snapping it, but I didn't go past that stage. I didn't paint it or anything like that. As far as I remember, it might have been something I was doing to fill time too, because I might have been in paint with another project. I think, I can't remember. Certainly, the Core Fighter was a pretty nice kit. Excuse me. So definitely something I need to revisit eventually. I guess for those that did not see that, I'll put it on the screen here. There we go. And this alloy color is kind of silverish, but it's got enough, it's got a little bit of color to it too, so it does blend nicely with the base color of that brazen brass that I'm using. All right, so I'm going to do a little bit of highlighting on this. Like I said, I'm waiting for some other colors to show up. I'm waiting for some enamel, like a light blue enamel from Canada. Actually, I ordered from two different places. So whichever shows up first will allow me to keep moving forward, because I want to do those recess, those blue areas like on the mask and the backpack. I want to be able to put those highlight colors in there, but I wanted enamel for the only reason really, because I have a light blue in lacquer, but problem with the lacquers is I have no way of safely removing it if I make a mistake. Like with this, it's water-based. I can easily just, take a Q-tip or something in some water, or like I'm using with my finger, just wiping it off. But let's get you straightened out. But with the enamel, if I do make a little bit of an error, it's easy to go right back over with a Q-tip and enamel thinner, and I can actually just wipe it off, almost like doing it with almost like a reverse wash. Just kind of take it off and fix those little mistakes if there are any. So that's why I want to use the enamel. So I'm waiting for that to show up, because I didn't have a lot of those Tamiya enamels, and it's nice that it's Tamiya, but instead of their lacquer-based acrylics, it's enamel. So they're really nice to use when you're doing this kind of thing. And this color too kind of brightens up the overall finish a little bit. And then, like I said, I'm probably going to go over this with some of that shading tone, that thinner liquid, and that kind of sits in the recesses, and it's really good for facial features and stuff like that. But I also like the way it works for this kind of stuff by highlighting or going into those recesses, and it just brings the other panels forward by making the ones behind it a little bit darker. All right, I'm going to clean this out. And these are water-based, so, but because I got a little bit of dry, I'm going to have to help work that paint out of the brush here. I just have a little thing of water. I don't have one of those Citadel, one of those brush cleaners that you can kind of hang it in there. And what I can't get out, I'll just throw it in the lacquer thinner, and that will take it right off. But just trying to get most of it out by. This is one of my go-to brushes. I can't even read it anymore. Looks like Thailand, made in Thailand, but man, I've had this thing for years. It's been all reliable. Okay, so I'm going to take this Earth Shade, and this is a fairly thin solution, so it's very translucent. It's not so much a solid color, but will work well for shading. So I'm just going to take a little bit of this. Just test the waters here and see. Yeah, this looks nice, because I can actually go right over that silver that I just put on. And it's kind of gives it that gradient, that tonal gradient, which I think is really cool. I'm not a huge, I'm not an expert at painting Warhammer stuff. There's guys that have been doing this for years who it just amazed me with their shading and that kind of stuff. But this is learned quite a bit from the few projects I've done, and in fact every single Warhammer project I've ever done has been a commission for somebody. And so far, to my credit, I've done a Bane blade with multiple attachments, and I used a lot of magnets in that build, so the the owner of that kit could actually, change their loadouts depending on what they wanted. And then I've also done the Valkyrie, which is another larger um, flying vehicle. So I'm just going over the legs again, and I'm hitting some of those recessed areas with this shade. But I like the way this also just kind of, it just takes that brass color, that base color, and makes it slightly darker and a little bit richer while filling in those recesses and making those darker. It brings those other panels, the ones you want to come forward a little bit more. But because this is rather translucent, it can be applied in a way that gives you that more of that gradient type effect. I like it. All those rivets that I had highlighted earlier with the silver, using this over the top of it, it goes around and it still allows that brighter silver to come through without, while darkening the areas around it to kind of a little bit harder to see on camera because the camera seems to darken everything up quite a bit as far as like the colors that you see. It's a little bit brighter, not quite as dark in person, but I'm running in 1080p, so that might have something to do with it too. All right, let me get a little bit on this kind of a belt buckle. Just one big armor panel right in the center. I still haven't decided what I'm going to do. There's some separation of these shoulder pauldrons. There's each little panels. There's 5 panels of basically armor panels on each shoulder. So there's some recesses that I want to do in a different color to kind of further make those little individual panels separate a little bit. So I'm probably going to do those I was thinking about a red when I first started, trying to toss around ideas of what would look nice. But I think after seeing the actual screenshots in the video game, I was like, all right, I need to stay a little bit closer to I think red would probably be too bright. So I'm going to go with something darker, maybe gloss black or something else in between. But so most likely be flat coated in the end anyway when I'm done. So I just need to keep that in mind when I'm doing these little different panels. Yeah, that looks good. I like it. I really like this earth shade color. I've used it several times as far as especially when doing figures, like on some of the like the Valkyrie or the Baneblade came with a couple of figures on it, pilots or whatever. But the Valkyrie had a few, it had a couple of pilots, and then it had a couple of guys on the guns in the side doors and stuff like that. So using this shade on them just to give those tonal variances on their uniforms and whatever armor or whatever they had was really really useful. It's kind of amazing. I didn't this Citadel stuff is just it's top notch. I mean, they make some really good products for sure. All right, that looks pretty darn good. All right, so I think what I'm going to do is change things up a little bit. I'm going to clean this brush out, and then we're going to do some enamel, some black on those shoulders to do that separation. Change things up a little bit. So got my enamel thinner, and again I use AK odorless enamel thinner. Stuff's amazing. Never had a problem with it. There was a time where there were some people that were kind of against using AK products for whatever political reasons, but I just kind of ignore that stuff. I don't try to mess around with politics in my live streams. I just want to do scale modeling. Now this is Tamiya enamel. So this is what I was talking about. I'll use enamels. And then if I have to do a wash, I can just take a Q-tip with some of that enamel thinner, and I can brush off any mistakes if I make any, because these are some pretty small stuff, and I'm using magnifiers to see this stuff, but I'm going to step up to these are my 4 times, these are adjustable. So I got up to 4 times magnification. So I'm going to get in real close here. And basically what I'm trying to do is, if you look at the shoulders, come on, focus. There we go. So you see that those little kind of crescent, those little recesses on the shoulder, those are the separations of those armor panels. So I want to darken those up with some black. Although I could use, don't really have, well, I do have a dark brown. This is Mornfang brown, but that's not really dark enough. I think the black will look nice. It'll give me those panel separation without taking away from that gold color that's on top of it. So I can't really put in. I was going to add a little more thinner to this, but there's not a lot of room left in the bottle here to put any of that on. So I'm just going to go in and touch these. And then the regular panel lines, this is just to fill in those, the larger area. The regular panel lines can just be done with a panel line accent color. So that will take care of that. I really only just have to paint the larger area. And maybe by tonight, when we're done here, I'll have one of these shoulders, one if not both, finished, and you can see, or one finished, so you can see the before and after. So, Steven, is your brother watching? Because if he is, he's being real quiet. Or is he going to watch it later? That's if Steven's still watching himself. So this brush I'm using is actually relatively new. It's an Atlas brush. I got them in a set of 4. I think I got them on Amazon. It's an RG 104. Not really super fine tip, but enough, in case you're trying to do some detail work, but you don't need like a single hair brush, something. I did trim, like, because the bristles were on this one were kind of uneven, so I did kind of trim off just to kind of square off the tip of the brush. And now it's really nice because it's still precise, but yet not, the bristles aren't uneven, so it makes it easier to. Let's see, I like that. So here we go. I'm going to show you the before and after. So if we look at this shoulder, okay, still see those separate, those panels, those little detail lines there. Now you look at this side. Let's see if we can get it. There we go. So I like the way that black kind of separates those recesses. Craig Daniels, what's going on? Oh, what's up? That must be Steven's brother. Good to have you, Craig. Giovanni says, I hire someone to do my commissions for me. It's still not done. Well, thanks, Craig. I'm glad you're happy so far. So far, so good. It's kind of interesting for you in particular because this is for you. So I'm sure it's entertaining to see the process of, how this starts and ends. So I think, and I was telling Steven about this too. I was at work and I was like, it's kind of fun at times when I'm doing something like this because I come up with these ideas about certain things I want to do, and it eventually start. Oh, I could try this, or I could try that, and it's more than just a commission project. It turns into something that treating it like it's my own, and I'm kind of having fun coming up with different ideas to. Like there was I did a perfect grade Millennium Falcon build for a guy in Canada. And I grossly underbid that, but it was one of those things. I was at a hobby store. The owner of the hobby store was like, "Hey, I just got off the phone with this guy," and they kind of put me on the spot. I really didn't have time to think about it. I said, "How much would you charge to build a PG Falcon?" And I was like, I just threw out a number, and then realizing later on that I probably underbid it, but one of the things I did when I was building that was there was things I came across that I could make better. The kit didn't have certain things, like certain details that I thought would look nicer, like hydraulic lines in the landing gear and things like that. So as I built that kit, I remember having these extra hoses and stuff from a lot of these motorcycle kits I used to build back in the day. So I dug through my drawers and found found those hoses, and I actually put those hydraulic lines. So if you look at any screenshots of like the movies from when the Falcon is on the ground, you see that those hydraulic lines hanging by the the landing gear. So that's what I did. So I just by adding just little things like that. I didn't have to do it, but I wanted to. I didn't tell the guy about it. It was more of a surprise for him later on. So just having fun doing the build, and then adding little things like that in just as a bonus. All right, so we got some little details. Both of those are pretty much done as far as that is concerned. I could, looking at this front edge, there's a little bit of, so there's a tiny bit on the bottom of the very last section here, above the elbow, there's a little recess here that I'm going to just add a little bit of that black, and it'll finish off that. I'm not sure I'm going to be able to see it on the left arm because it's tucked up next to the elbow, but there is a little bit of space there. I think I can get it in. Get this brush in there. All right. Oops, I got one more. I got to go back to the other side. There's another set of these I got to finish off. All right. Okay, and then there's one more I missed over here. All right. Okay, I'm going to let that sit for a minute. I'm going to use some, I'll use some panel liner on that to further darken those up, the rest of the actual panel lines. Right now it's just, I've only done the larger little areas. I've got to go in and finish up those lines. So let's bring out some black panel line here. Craig says it's definitely very interesting watching, since all pretty much know how to do is two thin coats and dry brush. Super glad you're enjoying it. Again, feel free to plenty of liberties. Well, thank you. Yeah, no, I appreciate it. And it is fun. I'm having a good time. Again, I don't do a lot of these little, this is a fairly large mini as far as like Warhammer stuff, and some of the stuff I had, like figures in the other commissions I did were pretty small. This is a little bit larger, but still it's a good break from it's a good break from what I normally do. So doing this kind of thing is certainly fun. And to all my Warhammer friends out there, it doesn't mean I'm going to start doing this all the time. don't get your hopes up. I want to go over to the dark side. I've already got, this is an expensive hobby as it is. I don't need to be spending thousands of dollars on minis and all that stuff that all those boys do. So I will have to go over this and clean this up with some of that enamel thinner, but I really like the way that this color is kind of separated each one of those shoulder panels. And then I can also go back over it and do some of that dry brushing with that. What color was that? That was the stuff all the way down. I gotta make sure it's closed. That canoptic alloy. That will further enhance the each one of these panels here. So I'm just filling in this with good old Tamiya panel line accent color. And again, because I used enamel on those recesses, this is also enamel based. So yeah, it's going to come out nice once that dries for a second, and we can clean it up. Wait a minute. Yeah, I need to do 200 more. Me or you? Angel, what are you talking about? 200 more minis? Because that's what it's like when you want to do an entire army or something. No, thank you. All right, I've already got a couple of little Q-tips here. So let this further sit for just a second, and then I'll go over it with the enamel thinner, and that will take off any little blemishes and make those panels stick out or separate. The colors will be nice and ready to go. And then I'll hit it with the alloy. And that should finish off those shoulders. I'm really looking forward to that blue, because I think that's going to make an amazing looking. It's going to just light everything up when I get that face done. With there's basically three panels that go across the face. Those will be lit up blue. The one in front of the chin, kind of visors, and then the spine with the health meter in the back and that stasis meter. So those little details light up. It'll be really cool. Hell no, not me. Yeah, I don't doubt it. I mean, if I had a sugar mama like who I'm talking about, Angel. If we had a guy like that and had all we had to do all day was sit at home and paint minis all day, yeah, I could see that would be easy, but we don't. At least I don't. I'm still working. I don't have that much time. How's the saying go? Ain't nobody got time for that. All right, so what I'm doing now is I just those sharp tip Q-tip here, I've just kind of wet it a little bit with that enamel thinner. Not so much saturating it, just getting it enough wet that I can go back over these and just take off that excess panel line color. Leave all those grooves nice and highlighted. And then when that dries, which won't take long, then I'll go over it with that alloy and just kind of brush that over just to highlight those rivets and further kind of add some depth. All right, let's set that aside. That's good there. All right, so let me bring this up again. You guys can see that each one of those shoulders, now that they are cleaned up, each panel has that separation. So I wanted to focus on the hand more than it is the, there we go. Looks good. And I'm going to do that throughout. So you can see a huge difference between that because it's all clean. I haven't really dry brushed it yet, so it's still really bright and shiny. So I'm going to go over that and tone it down a little bit, and then we'll add some of that earth shade again, and that will further kind of add some depth. Looks cool so far. Thanks, Angel. He got me by dragons. Yeah, I remember that. That's as far as he went. Yeah, the flying. I still got that. What was that? The one he gave me. That was. I keep wanting to say. Gosh, what was that? It was that. What's the name of that thing he gave me? Do you remember, Angel? I can pull it over here and show everybody, but. Gosh, it's on the tip of my tongue. I keep wanting to say Valkyrie, but it's not. Oh gosh, what is it called? I can't remember. Griffin. He gave me a Griffin. That's what it was. So now I'm just going back over and dry brushing over those edges of these shoulders just to kind of further add a little bit of depth. It shows a little bit of like wear and tear as well. You know, what you'd expect with something like this. A suit like this would obviously have some wear and tear on it. And you have to go in a certain direction. You know, obviously there's going to be scratches and things. Yeah, that really looks cool. I like it. All right. Pegasus. Oh, yeah. No, I'm talking about the one I had. That was a Griffin that I had. But yeah, you had a Pegasus, I think, and then the dragons, of course. But the one he gave me was a Griffin. It's kind of like a half bird, half lion, tiger, or something like that. All right. I'm definitely going to have to clean this brush in the lacquer. It's getting too much of this dried paint in it, so it's starting to show its wear. I got to clean it. But once it's dry, it's kind of hard to get out of the brush using water, even though it's water-based, of course. Once it's dry, it's just harder to loosen it up. So I'll just dump it in the lacquer thinner. That will take care of it. Just kind of highlighting the rest of the arm here, the elbows, the forearm, because there's not a lot of variance there. But when I get that earth shade in there, it will add some tonal variation to it. It'll look nice. You're right. I knew it was an animal with wings. Yeah, exactly. Griffin. I may have to do that one someday. That might be a fun little side project too. This is going to take a minute to come out, but the lacquer thinner will dissolve anything, so. It's almost there. Still a little bit dried up in it. Then I can start over with a clean brush again. Yeah, it looks good. All right. So, for those of you that were here 2 weeks ago or whatever, when I finished the LFA, I gifted that to my friend in Idaho. So he's probably got it on display somewhere in his house right now. Yeah, that was a fun little project. Not sure when I'll do another car at this point, but it was a fun little learning curve. All right, I think what I'm going to do on this backpack, because the spine is going to be blue, or portions of it anyway, I think I'll do them all just to kind of highlight like a full health situation. But I think what I'll do is I'm going to use that black panel lining again. I'm going to go back into some of those areas along sides that are just going to be highlighted, and I'll clean those up in a minute. So I'm going to break out the black panel line color again. Push that aside. I don't need that right now. The nice part about this pseudo paint too is that once it's dry, I mean, I wasn't sure how the enamel would react, on it. So I waited for it to dry, and it actually, now when I go to clean something up, with the enamel thinner, it doesn't even touch that citadel paint underneath it. I thought I may have to do a clear coat or something over the top to kind of protect it, but it would appear that everything is really well. Like I said, once it's dry, I don't even have any issues. I'm filling each one of these spines or panels. It's almost like pleated armor kind of thing. It's each individual section. And then once I get that blue and I'm able to do those sections, then, like I said, I'm going to use really low air pressure and airbrush, kind of just overspray a little bit, so it'll give it the effect of a glowing effect on the surrounding panels. So the idea is, just have some colored blue, and you want that to look like it's lit up. So it'll have a little bit of that just by doing some really finite overspraying. You can control. Of course, if I make a mistake, then I just go and redo it. So it's not a huge deal, but just by going over that, it'll give that effect that those items are glowing blue. All right, I'll let that dry for a few more seconds, and we'll clean up that section. I'm not sure what's on the front. Basically, the backpack, there's a panel that's like facing the back of his head, and I'm not sure if it's. I guess it's no. I thought maybe it was like a small shrine, but it looks more like just like mechanical. So I'll just have to go back and paint those a certain way to make them look, interesting. Basically, other than just matching the gold bronze color that's already on there. So I thought maybe, because some of these, Warhammer things, they have a shrine on the back of the tank or something like that, and I thought maybe that's what it was. But looking at it now with my really into my high power magnifiers, it just looks like tubing and mechanical. So I'm gonna have to wait. That took out a little more than I wanted to. I didn't let that dry enough. I'm gonna have to go back over and put some more of that panel line in there. What happened was when I was trying to remove the solution or remove the excess, it basically just took all the solution out, and so I just lost my contrast. So I just gotta let it sit for a little longer this time. All right. Go around this too. But no worries there. If it does come off, I can always use that earth shade. That stuff really, really does really, really well as far as like adding tonal differences. Let me just grab a new Q-tip here in a second. Giovanni says, since we're doing Warhammer figures from now on, I have a question. We're not doing Warhammer figures from now on. This is a one-off. I didn't say that. I didn't say I was doing Warhammer forever. It's too damn expensive, man. You guys are crazy. Can't afford that. I already got enough money invested in all of my backlog. So what's your question, Giovanni? Ask away. Maybe I can answer it. Maybe I won't. Yeah, so there's the back now with those pieces highlighted with the. I mean, you still got to do the cleanup on it, but you can see how adding that panel line accent color separates each one of those little scallops. Let's see. I got a couple of Warhammer figures. Let's see. Let me put this on screen so everybody can see, no matter where you're watching from. I got a couple of Warhammer figures. I primed them with Tamiya Gray, then paint with Citadel paint, and the paint chips off easily. Is it chipping off past the primer, or is it going straight down to, are these plastic or resin? That'd be my question first. So you're using Tamiya, but then you're painting Citadel. That shouldn't matter. I've done Citadel paints over, so they're plastic. Again, is it just the paint? So the primer is staying, but the paint's coming off. That I don't know, because I have had good luck with, although I usually use Mr. Color or Gaia Notes primer. I don't know why that would make a difference. How do you say that? Bok bok bagok. Good to have you in. Is he just using paint then is he using primer? No, he said he's using primer, Tamiya primer, and then Citadel over the top of that, but then the paint chips off, the primer remains. So, but his paint is chipping off. I've had good success with using Citadels over Mr. Color primers or Guy Notes, but I don't know. I think Tamiya primers are lacquer based. I don't know why that would be any different. But that is a very good question. If anybody else in the room knows, then by all means chime in. I'm not an expert on Citadel paints. I have used them a few times, but typically this is the smallest project I've done, and I used Guy Notes black primer on this as well, and so I haven't had any issues with paint coming off so far. I mean, nothing is even chipped. I mean, this has been pretty good so far. Rust-Oleum primer beats the booty cheeks off the hobby primer. Rust-Oleum, huh? So I guess that's an option for you if you want to go out and buy a can of Rust-Oleum. But yeah, that's a pretty good question. I'm not sure why you're having issues, other than it's a primer. It's a Tamiya primer versus Citadel problem. So like I said, I've not used the Tamiya primers and tried it. I've only used Guy Notes or Mr. Color primer. I've been also 1/4 the price. Yeah, I bet. You can buy a rattle can of it. Are you airbrushing, Giovanni, or are you just hand painting everything? I mean, as far as the primer goes, I imagine you're just rattle canning that. But I'm thinking in terms of like how are you painting? You're hand painting everything over the top of that. So it probably wouldn't hurt to. This is looking pretty good so far. Oh, okay. I need to clean that up real quick. I just realized I've got some panel line color, the enamel underneath the backpack that I need to clean up before I accidentally cover it with something else and seal it. So Giovanni says, primer I do with airbrush, hand paint everything else. This good brush is hoping it would stick better. Yeah, I don't know if it's a brush issue. It's probably a compatibility issue with the primer and the paint, but I'm not sure if you have anything else at your disposal. Maybe try a different primer. Maybe strip and start over, strip it and start over. There we go. I just had a little bit of that enamel thinner on there. I needed, or enamel paneling wash I needed to get off. Okay. And go back to this. We got Gaia and Mr. Color. Well, if you don't want to have to go out and try the Rust-Oleum like Bunk Box is, I would try one of those others first, since you already have them, just to see. Again, I haven't had any issues with it. And the two big projects I did was the Bane Blade and the Valkyrie, and both of those were just fine. So we got about 15 more minutes before we'll call this one a night. So some good discussion tonight. Good to see a lot of people watching as well. Thank you again. The questions are always what makes this show interesting, and or anyway is the commentary, the questions, the discussion, the love for the hobby, that kind of stuff, So I'm just using some of this Earthshade now to get down in some of these darker areas. Like the forearms here and stuff. Oh, Craig's got another big one here. Craig says, just a thought, but what do you think about for the chainsword, the arm painting would look like? You mean you want blood on the on the blade or something like that? Tons of gore sprayed all over. I like your thought process there. Hey man, it's your figure. You tell me, I'll make it happen. If you want the gore, I can certainly manage that. I'll just take some brushes and flick them and have that kind of spray pattern. But yeah, you tell me. Like I said, it's your figure. You get it any way you want. I've even got, let's see, I could probably, now I've got some clear red that would probably work for that. Would look, I don't know, maybe clear red or this. I've got some Citadel. This is a pretty bright red. This Mephiston. Gosh, let's come up with these funky names. Never easy to pronounce. A little too much there. That's another thing about the Citadels. It's kind of nice if you, especially the shading colors, if you put a little too much on, you just dry your brush off and go back on, and you can pull it right back out before it dries, and it's just fine. Blood and guts. Let's discuss the entire Warhammer lore. Who first? You've got too much time on your hands, buddy. Yeah, man. If it's easy to do, then hell yeah. Okay. I didn't say it would be easy, but it did say you do what you ask. You tell me what you want, and I'll make it happen. So, if you want to put some gore on here, we'll do that. I guess that is a pretty good idea anyway, considering what he's holding. All right, so yeah, we got about a little under 15 minutes. You're at work and you got 5 more hours to burn. That's why you want to discuss the entire lore. Well, sorry, I don't think I'm going to be able to help you with that. Sorry, you got to work the late shift. Yeah, we can add some interesting. All right. Just going through this periodically, just adding a little more of this shading. This stuff is so good. I mean, it's kind of crazy for this kind of stuff. It's just such a good part. So easy to use. That's another thing I think about Citadel Banes. You know, it's if you've never used them, there's really easy to use. I mean, it's just the quality is pretty darn good. I think this is probably the best thing. I mean, other than the hobby, you know, and all the minis and how ridiculously priced all those things are. But as far as like the paints and stuff, it's this is probably the best part of this hobby is the paint quality and the things you can do with it are just outstanding. And I only have a small little tray, you know, of several colors. I just basically bought what I needed for those projects I was doing. I didn't, you know, I don't have the full collection of it, but um, if I need something else, I just go ahead and pick it up. You know, go find it if I don't already have it. But I've got enough to make a dent in what we're doing here. All right, it's looking pretty good. It's going back through and just adding a little more of this shading to some of these. I will be adding some, I think I'm going to add some of that mud or whatever to the feet when I get this base ready to go. We'll add some dirt or something to the bottom. And then we'll dust him, you know, dust his feet up a little bit too. I think I need that bigger holder for these guys. I know games. I know they make a bigger holder. This one's nice, but it's this little skinny thing. They got big hands, man, and it's like sometimes it gets a little slippery. It's kind of hard to control it. I really like the way these tones are coming out. looking pretty good with the shading and stuff. It's starting to really get some depth to it. All right. Clean up my brush here. We're almost done for the night. Okay. All right. Let's see. Is there anything else I can do for the rest of the night? I have some of that. I said I got that blue enamel coming, and it's a sky blue, so it's probably pretty close to this here. Let me grab this. Okay, so it's probably going to be pretty close to this. This is where my starting point will be with that glowing, the facial features there. I can even use some, if I need be, I can use some clear blue to kind of give that some tonal variance. I've got a couple of other blues, not really bright ones, but this is a light blue, MS color light blue, which might work, but it's a little too dark. I think I need to start lighter, and then I can bring it darker. I might even be able to use some of this, which is this is a base color. It's called McCraggy blue. It's supposed to be a base color. I could water that down quite a bit and use that as a clear blue to kind of do some shading on those areas that are going to be glowing. But the airbrush is really going to be key for making that look good, I think, for trying to get that glowing effect. I know you can do it by hand, but again, I'm not an expert hand painter. I'm trying to apply most of the techniques I already know for the larger scale stuff to what I'm doing now. But anyway, with that, I think we're going to wrap things up tonight. So take these off. I got my other mags, and we'll go back up here. So we're going to keep working on this. During the week, I may not, because I'm saving what we're doing for the live stream. So in the middle of the week, I might be snapping that piece of crap kit. You're welcome, Julius. That crappy Dogram kit. That's the only thing I'm going to do to kind of keep myself occupied in the week. But in the meantime, I'm going to hopefully have those blue colors come in before the next live stream. I think I've got some scheduled to be here by Monday or Tuesday. So again, hopefully we'll be okay there. Let me go through the list again and say thank you for everybody that chimed in and said hello tonight. We got Angel, first one in, Nick, Giovanni, then Stephen, Julius, Nick again, and going down, we got his brother Craig, and Jason Davenport. How you doing, man? I'm sorry I missed you earlier. You're going to be in the Museum of Flight on the 15th. No, I have to work. I think we already talked about that. Angel, Giovanni, and then we got Buck. Appreciate you as well. Thank you so much for joining in and giving us your input on that. Oh, show me what you bought. You made it right at the last minute almost. Oh, I didn't see you earlier. Sorry about that. I try to keep an eye on the chat as we're going along, but occasionally I missed somebody that pops in at the last minute. Get down here. Excited to see how it turns out. Yeah, me too, Craig. I think it's going to be fun. Just having fun so far. So if you got any other ideas, go ahead and tell your brother or whatever. I'm sure you can relay those to me. Or, where to find me on Facebook and YouTube. You can always comment. I'm not sure if you can comment on an older. I think you can. You can comment on a video, and I should get the notification on that, but I think it's probably easiest just to find me on my Facebook page. Gundamonium Works. So here we go back up to my face, my big ugly mug. It was good times. Thanks everybody for chiming in, and thanks everybody for hanging out with me tonight. I appreciate you from the bottom of my heart. As always, like and subscribe, hit that notification bell, and put a comment in. Share the video. That always helps too. So do all those things for me if you so feel like it. If not, no big deals. I'm here to have fun and spread the hobby, and try to help out the new guy. I'll do something different. So anyway, be good humans, and we'll see you on the flip next week. I don't think there's anything special going on, so we shouldn't have a problem making that one. The only time I ever change times or dates is if there's a holiday or something like that in between, like last year, Christmas and New Year's fell on Wednesdays, so I had to change dates. I didn't do a show those 2 weeks, but like I said, most of the time I'm here every Wednesday, 6 p.m. Pacific, and yeah, we'll see you guys on the flip. Talk to you soon.